I remember the first night it happened so vividly. The room was dim, the hum of the ceiling fan blending with my nervous heartbeat. His hand brushed mine, and for a moment, I thought it was accidental. But then he didn't pull away, he lingered, his thumb pressing against my skin in a way that made my breath hitch. That's where I should have stopped. That's where I should have walked out, taken a deep breath, and reminded myself of my vows. But instead, I leaned in, drowning in the warmth of his eyes that looked too much like my husband's, but with a darker, more dangerous pull. And before I knew it, his lips were on mine. Hungry. Demanding. Shameless. I knew I was in the wrong, but I couldn't stop myself. Hey loves, before I go deeper into this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss these raw confessions. Trust me, what you're about to hear is only the beginning. It gets messier, darker, and far more intoxicating. Now, let me take you back to how this all started. It began with family gatherings, where I never paid much attention to him. My husband's cousin was always around during holidays, barbecues, and those loud Sunday dinners where everyone spoke over each other. To me, he was just another face in the crowd, someone I waved at politely, someone I never thought twice about. But then my marriage started to feel empty. My husband became distant, buried in work, always too tired for me. I would reach for him at night, and he would turn away, muttering excuses. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and I started to feel invisible. Like a ghost in my own home. And that's when his cousin began to notice me. He asked little things. Are you okay? You look tired. Do you need help with that? Small questions, but they felt like water to my parched soul. For the first time in a long while, someone was paying attention. Someone was seeing me. I didn't know those tiny moments would lead me here. Kissing him in secret, with my heart pounding so hard it felt like it could break my ribs. I didn't know I was already on a road that would destroy everything I had built. Somewhere deep inside, I think I knew. But I didn't care. The first time I noticed something was off was at the wedding reception of my friend, months before everything came crashing down. He was there, suit sharp, smile mischievous, eyes carrying the kind of hunger that both scares and excites a woman. At that time, I didn't even know he was my husband's cousin. He leaned close when he spoke, his cologne wrapping around me like an invisible net. He whispered jokes, brushed against my arm accidentally, and let his gaze linger in places it shouldn't. I felt desired in a way my husband hadn't made me feel in years. I should have walked away. But instead, I allowed myself to swim in that attention. He called me a few days later. Said he couldn't get me out of his mind. And I, foolishly, didn't hang up. That phone call turned into late-night conversations, stolen moments, and then the first time we met alone. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to hear every shocking turn of my story. I'd tell you if you were sitting in front of me right now. Because what started as innocent company spiraled into lustful rendezvous that still burn in my memory. The first time he kissed me, I swore my knees would buckle. His lips were urgent, his hands exploring, his tongue claiming me in ways that felt sinful but addictive. I told myself it was just a kiss, but one kiss is all it takes to open a door you can never close. Weeks later, we were meeting in secret. Cheap motels. Hidden parking lots. His touch became my undoing, his voice my weakness. He called me his forbidden fire, and every time I swore it would be the last, I fell deeper. Somewhere in the middle of all that madness, I forgot he was family. I forgot he was blood to the man I vowed to love forever. I only remembered how he made me feel alive, like my body was waking up from years of sleep. But little did I know, each touch was pulling me closer to the cliff. Each secret kiss was a matchstick waiting to set everything ablaze. And when the truth finally came out, my marriage didn't just crack. The hotel room smelled of fresh linen and temptation. I remember leaning back against the wall, my lips swollen from the reckless kisses that had just happened. His hands had been on me, possessive, sure of themselves in ways that made me tremble. I closed my eyes, whispering his name softly, not realizing how wrong it all was. Not realizing who he really was. You see, before I continue, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that share button if you're feeling the rush of this forbidden tale. Trust me, more confessions like mine will keep you hooked. Back to that night. The sheets tangled around us like chains, pulling me deeper into the sin. He kissed me like a man who had been starving for years, lips pressing, tongue teasing, his breath hot against my ear as he whispered things that no married woman should ever hear. And I let him. I wanted every dangerous second of it. When he finally pulled away, brushing my cheek with his knuckles, there was a flicker in his eyes, something that almost warned me. Something that should have made me step back. But instead, I leaned in again, aching for his touch, for that rush that drowned out the guilt clawing at the back of my mind. Somewhere between his lips and my sighs, I felt myself crossing a line I couldn't uncross. What I didn't know, what I couldn't even imagine, was that the man who had just made me forget my vows was no stranger to my home. He was tied to my husband by blood, not just by chance. And the cruelest twist? I was already in too deep to stop. I can still remember the weight in my chest when I realized what I had done. It wasn't just guilt, it was something far darker. Like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into a bottomless pit, knowing one more step would swallow me whole. But before I drag you deeper into that, let me pause a second. If you're still listening, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who believes they can play with fire and not get burned. Because trust me, what I'm about to tell you is exactly that, fire that scorched everything I once held dear. The days after our reckless trip together were strange. He wasn't just my secret anymore. He was living in my thoughts, rent-free, demanding attention I could barely afford to give. I'd be at home, fixing dinner for my husband, and suddenly the smell of garlic and onions would take me back to the motel room where his cousin had kissed my neck, whispering words I shouldn't have let enter me. The bed I once shared with my husband became another battlefield. When he reached for me, I would flinch, not because I didn't want him, but because I felt tainted. Tainted by another man's touch. And here's the bitter irony. The cousin wasn't even guilty in the way I was. He carried himself with ease, as though this was just another adventure in his long list of women. For me, it was destruction wrapped in desire. One night, after my husband fell asleep beside me, I sneaked out to the living room. I sat on the couch, hugging myself, trembling in the silence. My phone lit up, it was him. The cousin. "Can't stop thinking of you," his message read. My chest tightened. And I typed back words I should have swallowed, "Me too." That was the beginning of the storm. Because after that, there was no slowing down. Every stolen message, every glance across family dinners, every excuse I made to run errands that ended in his arms, it all piled into a mountain of lies. And the scariest part? My husband had no clue. Not even a shadow of suspicion. He loved me so blindly that my betrayal sliced him before he even saw the knife. Halfway through this confession, I want to remind you again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stories like mine aren't just entertainment, they're warnings in disguise. It all came crashing when family gathered for a barbecue. I was cutting watermelon when my husband's cousin walked into the kitchen. His hand brushed mine, so subtle, so fast, but my husband's mother noticed. The way her eyes narrowed at me, it was like she knew. Like she could smell the sin on my skin. And I knew then, the wreck was coming. The storm wasn't silent anymore. It was brewing, roaring, demanding to break. The hotel room was quiet that morning, too quiet for the chaos storming in my chest. His arm was heavy across my waist, his breathing steady as though nothing in the world was wrong. Yet inside me, everything was broken. I stared at the ceiling, flashes of last night swirling in my head, his lips trailing down my neck, the way his hands refused to let me go, and the madness of me not resisting. Every moan, every whisper, every gasp, it felt like I had been pulled into a whirlpool I couldn't escape. And then it hit me again, he wasn't just some forbidden stranger. He was my husband's blood, his cousin. The man who sat with us at family dinners. The one who toasted our wedding. The one who smiled innocently while I held my husband's hand. Viewers, if you've followed me this far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it, because what I'm about to tell you is the sharp edge of betrayal, the kind that cuts even after the passion fades. I tried to slip out of the bed, but his grip tightened. "Where are you going?" he whispered, still half asleep. "Home," I said quickly. My voice trembled, but I tried to sound cold. "Home," he smirked, finally opening his eyes. "Sweetheart, you crossed that line the moment you let me in." His words struck me like lightning. And he was right, I had already burned the bridge. By evening, I returned home to my husband, pretending nothing had happened. But his cousin's shadow followed me. His scent lingered on my skin even after countless showers. His voice echoed in my ear like a curse. And the worst part? Every time I closed my eyes, I wanted more. The guilt and the craving tore me apart. My husband kissed me that night, his touch gentle and familiar. But all I could think of was the reckless fire I'd tasted in his cousin. My body betrayed me, I responded to my husband, but deep inside, I ached for another man. That was the wreckage. The wreckage of a woman who thought she could escape a fling, but instead got chained to it. And here I am, telling you this story not for sympathy, but as a confession. I was not caught, no one ever knew, but inside, I remain ruined. His vigorous passion destroyed my peace, and my lies now sleep beside my husband every night. So before you go, don't just click away, subscribe, like, and share this video. Because maybe, just maybe, hearing my story will stop another woman from walking straight into her own wreckage. I close my eyes and laugh bitterly sometimes. I wanted fire, and I got it. But that fire didn't just warm me, it burned my home down. His lips, his touch, his reckless passion, they were too intoxicating for me to resist, and I surrendered blindly. Yet, in surrender, I lost the very life I thought was safe. My husband never caught us, but I caught myself, caught between guilt and the sweetness of every secret stolen moment. Maybe you'll judge me, maybe you'll understand. Maybe you've been there too, living a lie, hiding a desire, letting lust steer you into dangerous waters. But remember, my story isn't about perfection, it's about confession. And if you felt every shiver, every ache, every dangerous thrill in my words, then don't leave me hanging. Backhand index pointing right, hit that like button, share this story with someone who craves to feel, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another confession that drips with lust, romance, and danger. Because this was my wreckage. And I'm still piecing together the woman I became after eloping unknowingly with my hubby's cousin.